This is Histories and Mysteries Uncovered. I'm Ashley.
And I'm Jessica. And on this week's episode, Ashley is going to be talking about the murder of Natalee Holloway. And I will be talking about John George Haigh, also known as the acid bath murderer.
Ooh, that doesn't sound good.
It's not.
Yeah. Mine's not great either.
Awesome.
Yeah, but it has a justice ending.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So I don't know if you've heard in the news, this case has been in the news lately, and that's why I decided to do it, because I've been hearing it all over, but I didn't really know much about it. Have you heard about Natalee Holloway at all?
No.
Okay. It's
if
it's
it's American news, it's not in Canadian news.
Oh, yeah. Forgot about that.
Yeah.
Well, it's all over the American news right now.
Okay.
So I got my sources from ABC News, WVTM 13, All That's Interesting, CNN, Today, Daily Beast, and The Messenger.
Not yesterday?
Not yesterday, today. Was it like the Today Show or something like that? I don't know.
Oh, okay. I see you got your wall finished finally.
We did. Finally, he finished it and he put up some of his Navy things, and then we're going to do like a moss framey thingy here.
Nice.
Yeah. So I can finally unblur my screen because it doesn't look awful in here.
Awesome.
So it is, there's a little bit of graphic detail in here, so a bit of a trigger warning, and I'll tell you prior to. It's nothing, I mean, it's horrible by any means, but it's not as bad as some of the things we've done. So Natalee Holloway, she was your typical high school teenager. She was beautiful, blonde, had lots of friends, straight A student. She was just beginning her life. She was a senior in high school. In school, she was a member of the dance team. She was on the student government. Her mom said that she wasn't really into alcohol or dating or sex or anything like that. She was just an all-around good kid, straight A, good student. Her mom also said that she was very smart, but very naive, which I think plays into this a bit. But also, this story happens back in 2005, before there was so much information out there about how to protect yourself, right? From leaving with men or going on dates with men, that kind of stuff. She was 18 at the time, like I said, just graduating high school. And apparently her high school, this was the third year they did it, the senior class took a huge senior class trip to Aruba, which...
What?
Yeah.
That's so cool. Is that a normal thing for...
No.
Okay.
We had a senior class trip, but I think we went to the beach. So they went to Aruba. I think that they come from some money, and we'll talk. Well, you'll see why in a little bit, but
okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah,
I was gonna say I didn't have a class trip.
No. Yeah, we did like a senior class trip, but it was just a day. It was to the beach, which was
like fun.
Yeah, it was fun. But it was like half hour from our school.
Yeah,
it wasn't Aruba.
That would be nice.
That would be so cool. And they were super excited. They were going to hang out on the beach. The drinking age in Aruba was 18, so a lot of them could go to the nightclubs and have some fun. There was about 124 students that went, with 7 adult chaperones.
That does not seem like enough.
That's what I thought too when I read that. I was like, oh my gosh, that's a long order for those chaperones. But again, like I said, this was their third year doing it, and they never had an issue before. The last night while they were there, some of the kids went to the hotel casino where they met 17-year-old Joran Vandersloot. Joran told them that he was a tourist. He said that he was 19, but in fact, he had been living in Aruba for many years, and he was actually 17. And I can get the line of age because you want to seem cool to the older girls. I get that. But why would you lie and say you were a tourist? I'm not really sure about that.
Maybe just said he could garner there. No, I guess was gonna say so he could garner their trust, but it would have made more sense to say that he was a local and
Yeah.
knew the area really well.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not really sure why he would lie about that, but then after they left that casino, the school trip, the kids that were going out that night headed to a really popular club there called Carlos and Charlie's Bar. And Joran eventually met up with them there. He and Natalee chatted and danced and had a little, flirtation going until about 1 a.m. when the bar closed. After that, Natalee is seen leaving in a car with Joran and his two friends, Deepak and Satish Kalpo, around 1:30 a.m. The next day, when the class was getting ready to leave for the airport, Natalee was nowhere to be found. Her passport and her bags were still in her room, but they couldn't find her anywhere. And nobody ever sees her again.
What?
Yeah,
Like never again.
never again.
Oh my gosh. When did this happen?
This was in 2005.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. So immediately at this point, a chaperone calls Natalee's mom to tell her that Natalee's missing. And in one interview I saw with the mom, she said, or I think it was the dad that said, I knew she was gone. He's like, she was never late to a thing in her life. And for her to just not show up, for them to fly home, he's like, I knew she was gone. Just so sad. But then here's where I think the money comes in because Natalee's mom, Beth, her stepdad, they just said Jug. So I'm assuming that's a nickname. And some,
Jughead.
yeah. And some family friends immediately rented a jet and flew down to Aruba.
Holy crap. Yeah, you don't just have like
Yeah.
jet money lying around unless you're rich.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that they probably came from money. Their school was probably pretty wealthy, which is probably why they went to Aruba. They started when her family got down there, they started talking to some of Natalee's friends who told them that they went to this bar called Carlos and Charlie's. So they head to the bar and start asking around and eventually find out about Joran. Now, another source I read said that they actually found out about Joran from the hotel staff. And there was a little bit more information on the story about the hotel staff. So I'm thinking that they actually found out about Joran from the hotel staff. And one of the hotel employees identified Joran and said that he, quote, tends to prey upon young female tourists.
And they don't do anything about that?
Yeah, I guess not.
If you know that this underage kid is preying upon young women, like, wouldn't you do something about that?
Well, and I'm thinking that when she said, or the hotel employee said preying upon them, possibly meaning just like hooking up with them, maybe is what I was thinking.
Maybe.
I don't know. So then Natalee's family went to Joran's place where he lived and confronted him. And he said that he did leave the bar with Natalee and then they went to a lighthouse and then he dropped her back off at the hotel and he hadn't seen her since. He said that he would go with them to the hotel and point out the security guard that helped Natalee inside and presumably the last person to see Natalee. But when they got there, he couldn't find the security guard that he had seen.
No kidding.
Yeah. 2 days later, a group of tourists and locals start a search party looking all around the area, everywhere they could. Eventually, this group expands, and there's quite a few people looking for Natalee. There's a whole volunteer group from Texas, the Aruban police, the Dutch Marines were there, and they had 3 F-16 fighter planes from the Netherlands looking for her.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Who is this girl?
You would think something very important, but I think they were just a regular family. But Joran was Dutch. So I don't know if maybe that's why the Dutch got involved in another. I'm not sure. Meanwhile, police start to investigate the security guards that Joran said helped her into the hotel. And they did take them in for questioning, but they released them 8 days later, which to me seems like a really long time, but I don't really know how the Aruban police force works.
Or how long it took for them to find this guy.
Yeah, yeah. Then, with Natalee's mother's urging, police arrested Joran and his two friends, only this time their story changed. They said that instead of dropping her off at the hotel, they actually dropped Joran and her off at the beach near the hotel. And Joran insists he left her there to walk back to the hotel by herself. So Joran said he left and she had to walk back to the hotel by herself.
Why would you switch it like that, though, that all of a sudden
Yeah,
you walked her to the hotel, but now all of a sudden you just
didn't.
left her?
Yeah, very fishy.
Very suspicious.
And then for some reason, a judge ruled to hold Joran for another 60 days in jail, but never said why. I just thought that was an interesting fact to put in there, but I have no other information about it than that. On July 26th, so this whole thing happened end of May-ish. So now we're to July 26th. Police got a tip from a gardener who said he saw Joran and the two brothers digging next to a Marriott hotel. So the police decided to drain a pond right across from the Marriott hotel, but gave up like 4 days later and they didn't find anything. At the end of July, the two brothers are rearrested, and Joran at this time is still in jail because the judge gave him an extra 60 days for some reason. So they rearrest the two brothers, and then everybody's released September 3rd on the condition that they remain available to police. So they keep arresting them, questioning them, and letting them go. Arresting them, letting them go.
That just seems really pointless.
Yeah. Then in 2006, so this is about a year later, Jordan did an interview that they aired over 3 nights on ABC News. In it, he said that the two had planned to have sex. So him and Natalee had planned to have sex when they left the bar together, and that they were planning on going to his house to do so. He said they didn't because he didn't have a condom, and he said, I won't have sex with a girl without a condom. He said that he was picked up by a friend at the beach and Natalee didn't want to join him, so he left her there. He said when Natalee's parents first approached him, they were very aggressive, which is why he lied and said that he dropped her off at the hotel. He said, quote, they showed up at our house screaming, yelling, and cussing. He said, I mean, if the way they were putting pressure on us just made us want to lie more because we seemed like we were in big trouble.
Yeah, you stick to that story, buddy.
So I have some of the interview here. It's a long interview, obviously, because it was over a course of 3 days. So I just pulled out some interesting or important facts. So one of the things he talks about is when he first met her. And he says, I remember when I first saw her, I went to the casino, the Excelsior Casino at the Holiday Inn, to play a free poker tournament. I remember walking in there and sitting at playing a poker tournament. Then afterwards, when I was done, going to a blackjack table and sitting down. And I remember her and her friends coming up to the table. They sat down. They wanted to play blackjack. And I didn't even notice Natalee from the beginning from that. And then he says something inaudible. I didn't even pay attention to her. There was a friend of hers that was sitting next to me that said she'd lost $100 or $120 of her father's money and she wanted to win it back. And I said, you know what? I'll help you. I'll help you try and win back your money. I'll tell you when to hit and when to stay. And that's what I did. We were just talking socially. It was just talking with nothing else involved. And then they ended up telling me it was their last night and asked if I wanted to go to Carlos and Charlie's. So this struck me as interesting because here he is still trying to portray himself as this good guy. Like, oh, she lost money and I was trying to help her get it back. You can tell how he's twisting things to try and make him seem like a good guy.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. He said that when he and Natalee were at the bar and they were leaving to go back to his place, he said, quote, we were speaking English to each other and I asked her if she wanted to go back to her hotel. And that's when she said she asked me if I had a big house or not. And then I said to her, do you want to see my house? And she's like, yes, I want to go to your house. We actually did end up heading to my house because that's what she wanted to. So I was fine with it. And then during the car ride, she had her hand on my leg and I had my hand on her leg and we were both in the back. We were kissing each other. And so I took something in a positive, not in a bad way. Well, we got to the beach. We walked up. I took off my shoes. We walked to the ocean, and that's where we sat down as well. That's where I left my shoes and when we started walking. And I asked her, we can walk towards your hotel because there's a lot of people there too. And she wanted to walk the other way, so towards the starting to go towards the lighthouse. So we started walking in that direction, more towards the fisherman's hut. And yes, we were holding hands, talking and kissing, just having a good time. Well, I mean, I had to go to school the next day. I was close to my exams to do for my final exams, The bus was picking me up at 6:40 a.m. I mean, I had to go home and I didn't want my dad to go in my room and see I'm not there or anything like that. So I mean, I had to go home. So yes, at this point I told her, it's time to go back to your hotel, and she was just like, "No, stay here. Let's look at the stars." She was just saying, "Stay here with me. Just stay here with me the whole night. Tomorrow I have to go back anyway." And that's what we were talking about. And the interviewer says, "And what did you say? I mean, how does this conversation go back and forth between the two of you on this?" And he says, "Yes. So she was asking me to stay, and I told her that I had to go. So, for me to bring her back to the hotel and then at the end just say, okay, well, I'm going to call Deepak to come pick me up." And so I walked right there. There's the fisherman's hut. Because there's a lot of wind on the beach. So I walked next to it, and that's where I called him from. And I asked him to come pick me up. Then it was his brother that came to pick me up, but I had asked him to pick me up. I know, I told him, the girl's still on the beach and, she wanted me to stay here with her. I want to go. I want to go home. What do you do? And he reacted like, okay, let's go, let's go fast. Let's leave, like, not really caring about her. Let's just go and leave her there. And I was like, okay. So we really went without even saying goodbye to her or without even really seeing her and telling her at that point that they were going to go.
It's a lot of victim blaming and
Yes.
just not really, you know.
And and he said a lot of things in here negative towards Natalee that I chose to leave out because I don't there's no proof that she said or did these things, and he is a bad guy, and I wouldn't want to hurt her character in any way.
Based off of
Yeah,
false.
exactly. So I left a lot of it out, but he did say some really crappy things about her.
Of course he did.
Yeah,
He can't take any responsibility, but he
no.
can victim blame and say horrible, nasty things
Yeah, he's
to
definitely
make
trying to make
himself feel
her,
better.
yeah, he's trying to make her look bad and him look good, like the good
Yeah,
guy.
he's trying to manipulate the story
Yeah,
to
exactly.
fit his own needs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
So in 2008, I don't know how this happened to be, but a convicted drug dealer was paid to record a conversation with Joran where he said that he and Natalee had sex and then she had a seizure and died. He said, quote, "All of a sudden, what she did was like in a movie. She was shaking. It was awful. I prodded her. There was nothing." He then told the drug dealer that he and a friend disposed of her body by throwing it out to sea like a, quote, old rag. So the story changed again.
What I don't understand though is if it was an accident and she died by some medical mystery, why would you dump her body?
Mm-hmm.
And then why would you lie about it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, come on, Joran.
Idiot. So in 2010, I'm not sure what Jordan was thinking, but I think we can all agree he's a moron. He contacted Natalee's family lawyer and said he would give them information about her murder for some money.
Oh, now it's a murder, huh?
Yes. He also sent
Oh,
Natalee's parents emails offering to tell them where Natalee's body was if they would give him $250,000.
oh, come on, bud. Like, are you fucking kidding
Yeah.
me?
And I know they sent him some money, and he told them that her body was in the foundation of a house or something like that, but it wasn't.
Oh, oh, what a sketch bag.
Yeah. Then 5 years to the day of Natalee's disappearance in 2005. So this is now in 2010. Stephanie Flores Ramirez, 21 years old, was found murdered, and the last person to be seen with her, you guessed it, Joran.
No.
Yeah. Apparently, the two met playing poker in a Lima casino and hit it off. She wanted to continue to play poker, so they decided to go back to Joran's place in her SUV because he couldn't drive at this point or didn't have a car or something to play some online poker. While they were there playing, a message popped up on Joran's computer talking about his involvement with the Natalee Holloway case. It said, quote, "I'm going to kill you, you little," and then he used a bad term that I don't want to say for someone who has Down syndrome.
That's insane.
Yeah. So Stephanie was like, "What? What the hell?" And he said that he explained to Stephanie his connection with the case and that she, quote, "freaked out and lashed out at him." He said, "She struck me on the left side of my head with her fist," which, why would she do that? You just said that you're involved with a case of a missing one. I'm sure he didn't tell her, like, "Oh, I murdered this girl," right? So he probably just said, "Oh, people think I murdered her." So why would she all of a sudden punch him in the head? Like, that doesn't.
Or just get freaked out, right? Because it could have just been, oh, that's a funny joke, or these are just allegations, and
Yeah, if
could
anything,
have
she'd be
just
freaked out and
walked out.
left. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not like, "Oh, I'm going to punch you in the side of the head." So,
Yeah, because that's the smartest thing to do if you're hanging out with a killer.
right. I don't think by any means she did this. Like, I think he's trying to twist the narrative to make her the bad guy.
Like he does.
Yes. And so he said, at that moment, impulsivity, oh, no. At that moment, impulsively, with my right elbow, I hit her in the face. She was on the bed when I hit her hard with my right elbow, and I think her head went back and hit the wall. Then she begins to bleed. Immediately, I get on top of her with both my hands. I begin to strangle her, keeping her that way for a minute. After that, I throw her to the floor, but she keeps breathing. At that moment, I take off my shirt. I put it on her face, pressing on it. I don't remember for how long, but she stops breathing. In this way, I think I caused her death.
You think?
Now, I laughed at that at first too, but I think what he meant is that's how I killed her, was by suffocating her with a t-shirt, because English is his second language. But at first I was like, you
Okay.
think that's how you cut what? Yeah, I did the same
Yeah.
thing you did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense.
He then stole her poker winnings, just like add like salt to the wound, and told staff not to bother, quote, his girl, and left the country.
Oh, did he go back to Deutschland?
He went to Chile.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. So obviously, eventually, a maid found Stephanie's body and they immediately called the police. And then this is where they found Joran in Chile. He was extradited back to Peru, where he pled guilty in 2012 to her murder. And he was sentenced to 28 years for Stephanie's murder.
So why would he confess to this but not the other one with Natalee?
Well, because they had a body and they had evidence that he was there. With Natalee, they still don't have a body. They still don't really have a lot of evidence that he did anything to her.
Which is so, so sad.
Yeah. Well, remember how he was trying to extort Natalee's parents?
Yes.
That's what got him.
Oh,
So the US indicted him on charges of extortion and wire fraud after the FBI conducted a sting operation to get him. Because remember, he murdered Natalee in Aruba. So the US can't charge him for murder because it happened in Aruba, but he did uh have extortion and wire fraud in the United States. So they were able to arrest him for that. And part of his agreement was that if he pled guilty and recorded a full confession to the murder of Natalee, he would get a lighter sentence. And so he took it.
oh wow.
Yeah. And here's what he said about how she died. So basically what he said at the first is they dropped off at the beach and then they walked to a Marriott and then they walked along the beach. Then he said that his friends left. They went back to their home. And he says, I'm just going to read this now. They get in their car and they leave. With Natalee walking along the beach. I find a space before we get to the Marriott Hotel where I lay her down. We lay down together in the sand and we start kissing each other. I get her to kiss me again and we start kissing each other. And I start feeling her up again and she tells me no. She tells me she doesn't want me to feel her up. I insist. I keep feeling her up either way. And she knees me. She ends up kneeing me in the crotch. Go, Natalee. When she knees me in the crotch, I get up on the beach and I kick her extremely hard in the face. Yeah, she's laying down, unconscious, possibly even dead, but definitely unconscious. And I see right next to her, there's a huge cinder block laying on the beach. I see a huge cinder block and I take this and I smash her head in with it completely. Yeah, her face basically, collapses in.
Oh my God.
Even though it's dark, I can see her face is collapsed in. Afterward, I don't exactly know what I'm scared. I don't know what to do. I decide to take her and to put her into the ocean. So I grab her half pull and half walk with her into the ocean and I push her off. I walk up about to my knees into the ocean and I push her off into the sea. Yeah, after that I get out and I walk home.
Holy shit.
So, with this confession, which the judge obviously hears when he's deciding his sentence for the fraud, he said, I have considered your confession to the brutal murder of Natalee Holloway. You have brutally murdered in separate incidents years apart two beautiful women who refused your sexual advances. So, when everybody out there says, why doesn't a girl just say no? This is why. A judge sentenced Jaron to 20 years in a U.S. federal prison, but he will first have to return to Peru to complete serving time for the murder of Stephanie. If he serves more than 20 years there, he will not need to return to the U.S. to finish his sentence for extortion and wire fraud. The public prosecutor's office for Aruba said that the Holloway case remains an open investigation, even though the statute of limitations is up. And they said they have requested the U.S. Department of Justice for official court documents and transcripts and all the documents related to the investigation, which we will review before deciding on procedural steps to be taken. And when asked, well, if this is past the statute of limitations, why would this be able to go forward? And they said that they cannot be answered unequivocally. It depends on several factors within the investigation. Bear in mind also that we don't know yet what is in the official court documents and documents related to the investigation. Therefore, there is no simple yes or no at the moment. While serving his prison time in Peru, Jaron was also caught trafficking cocaine and was sentenced to 18 more years in prison. But because Peruvian law prohibits prison sentences from exceeding a total of 35 years unless they're given a life sentence, he will be released from prison on or about June 10th, 2045, and he will be 58 years old, which I hate.
It's insane.
Which I hate. But I did put a little bit in here. The Peruvian prisons are generally known for considerable overcrowding, deteriorating infrastructure, and poor healthcare conditions. Jaron was held in protective custody, but he was stabbed in prison, according to his wife. Yes, I said wife, Jessica. There was a lady at his holding prison, the first one before he was convicted, that was selling candy and cigarettes to the prisoners. And he impregnated her and married her. Then just before he was to be extradited to the U.S., he divorced her and was in a new relationship with what his lawyer said, quote, was a prettier and younger girl.
That's so nice.
Yeah. And the director of Peru's National Penitentiary Institute said that he never got stabbed, that his ex-wife is a compulsive liar and it never happened. But she did have a bloody polo shirt that she showed, so who knows? But Joran's prison records show 4 fights or other violent attempts between 2014 and 2021. So he's doing great. As for Natalee's mom, Joran apologized to the family, saying, quote, "I would like to apologize to the Holloway family. I am no longer that person back then than I am today. I gave my heart to Jesus Christ. He helped me through all of this." And she said, "You're a killer, and I want you to remember that every time that jail cell door slams." She said, even with his confession, though, he can't be tried here for Natalee's murder, but I'm satisfied knowing that he did it. He did it alone, and he disposed of her alone. She added, "I have what I need. Her case is solved."
Holy shit.
Yeah.
I hate that.
Yeah.
Especially because it's hard knowing that her body was just dumped in the ocean.
Yeah. They'll never be able to bury her or anything like that.
At least they got closure and finally found out what happened.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is the story of why women are afraid to say no to men.
Because no matter what we do, we can say no, but that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. Yep.
So just makes men, obviously some men,
Right.
but yeah, just makes them
furious.
Makes their little manhood shrivel.
Well, why don't you bring us down even more with this acid killer?
Okay, I can do that. It's not very long, so it's not as horrible.
Okay, good.
It also happened a while ago, so that's probably also why there's not a lot of information on it. And I had some conflicting sources. So I'm just going to kind of say this is all mostly alleged.
Okay.
It happened, but I'll get to the part that I think was it's like up in the air.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay. So I used History Press and all that's interesting.
Okay.
This is the story of John George Haigh. Police searched his warehouse on Leopold Road in West Sussex in February of 1949.
Oh, it is an oldie.
Yeah. Contained within were multiple 40-gallon drums and receptacles holding concentrated sulfuric acid. They also discovered 28 pounds, it's disgusting, of melted human body fat. A portion of a foot. Gallstones. And a portion of a denture.
Ooh. Poor person that had the gallstones.
This was the one person. Yeah. It was his last victim. Investigators could see what had transpired from the acid inside, and to cover up his crimes, Haigh had killed someone and dissolved their corpse with acid. And his way of killing, he would shoot them, and then he would melt them.
Oh. Well, at least they weren't alive when they were melted.
Yeah. One can only hope.
Yeah.
What would become even more stunning during the course of the investigation was the fact that, barring a minor error, he had previously committed the act and had intended to do so again. So
there was only one person found.
No.
Oh.
Well, at this location, yes.
Oh, okay. First, when you said 40 barrels, I was like, oh no, 40 people.
No. I think he only killed like 5 or 6 people.
Okay.
I mean, not only, but
yeah, not 40.
40.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was not a murderer at first. He actually grew up going to concerts for classical music. He was born into a wealthy traditional Yorkshire family, and he received multiple scholarships for his academic career. Only months after being married, his idyllic youth came to an end at the age of 25 when he was taken into custody and imprisoned for fraud. His new bride abandoned him when he was imprisoned, and his traditional relatives declared that they had no interest with him being in their lives.
Oh, damn. Way to just
Yeah,
cut someone off.
100%. Well, I mean, they were this aristocratic family, right?
Yeah.
So
But I feel like if it was his first offense, I mean,
it was for fraud.
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they're like very, maybe their money came from being hardworking and
Yeah.
going about life honestly. I don't know.
Yeah.
He was freed from prison after barely 2 years and relocated to London, where he took a job as a driver. Even after serving time for fraud, he persuaded gullible well-wishers to part with their cash. So he just could not stop.
Couldn't help himself.
No. He would pose as William Adamson, a solicitor, and at below market prices, he would often sell fictitious stock shares from the estates of his deceased clients.
Oh my God.
And clients, I put in air quotes.
So he was the original scammer.
Yes. He was
Did he ask for
eventually,
gift cards?
well, and the funny, so if you look up a picture of him,
Uh-huh.
he looks like a weasel.
Oh, what's his name
And
again?
he just, John George Haigh, and Haigh is Haigh. He
H-A-I.
has that very thin mustache of the
Oh, yeah, he
40s,
does look like a weasel.
slicked back hair. He just looks like a scummy scammer,
Yeah, he does. He
right?
definitely is asking for gift cards.
Yeah. Yeah. He was eventually discovered when one of his clients noticed that he had spelled his own fake name incorrectly on a court document.
Oh, no.
What an idiot. He was detained and imprisoned once more in 1939, and this time he received a 4-year sentence for fraud. Haigh came to the realization while incarcerated that his greatest mistake was having his fraud victims remain alive,
Oh, no.
because if they were alive, they could disclose his crimes to the authorities.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So he realized that that was his biggest mistake.
Of course, not the whole fraud thing.
No. For the remainder of his incarceration, Haigh planned how to get rid of any witnesses to the crimes that he fully intended to carry out once he was released. So going in the system meant nothing to him.
Yeah.
He started investigating Georges Alexandre Serret, a French murderer whose MO involved soaking his victims in sulfuric acid. And in his spare time, John George Haigh practiced on mice and came up with his own process for dissolving bodies in different kinds of acid.
Ew, poor mice.
I know. After discovering that a little field mouse took 30 minutes to dissolve, he was able to determine how much acid and how long a fully grown man would require to melt.
Why can't they ever use their smarts for something good?
Right? Like, he's so smart.
Yeah.
After being released from prison 4 years prior, John George Haigh used his macabre expertise to land an accounting position at an engineering company. See? Smart.
Yeah. Yeah.
He
Use your
soon
brain
met,
for good.
honestly, stop using it for bad shit.
Yeah.
He soon met William McSwan, an old friend for whom he had served as a chauffeur, and McSwan informed him of his recent endeavor as a landlord, handling the rent collection for guests staying at his parents' several homes. Poor McSwan. Even though he worked for a lucrative engineering company, Haigh was envious of McSwan's opulent lifestyle and his seeming lack of effort in life. So, Haigh struck McSwan over the head after luring him into an abandoned cellar a few months after they first met.
Oh, poor McSwan.
Yeah. Haigh placed McSwan's body in a 40-gallon drum and filled it with pure sulfuric acid.
He might not even have been dead if all he did was hit him in the back of the head with a pipe.
Well, and that's where it kind of got contradictory because, like, one spot I heard that he always shot his victims first using a revolver that he had stolen,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe it was after this and then he stole McSwan's gun,
Oh, okay.
right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know if McSwan was even fully dead.
Oh.
So, after melting his corpse, Haigh then dumped McSwan into a manhole 2 days later, and he was reduced to just like 100 pounds of pure muck and sludge.
Ew.
Haigh then assumed McSwan's landlord responsibilities while on the high from his successful murder and informed the victim's family that he had fled to avoid being drafted in the war.
Oh my God.
But John George Haigh eventually killed the elder McSwans as well, since they were growing suspicious since their son had not come home even after the draft had been completed.
Oh my God. What a jerk.
Yeah. Haigh moved to the Onslow Court Hotel in Kensington after being left with their money and assets. The roughly $10,000 he had stolen, however, did not last long because he quickly developed a gambling problem.
Oh my gosh, of course.
He was then obliged to find yet another wealthy couple to kill and loot, as his money ran out faster than he had intended. Haigh then killed Dr. Archibald Henderson and his wife Rose after pretending to be interested in their house that was for sale. The Henderson family was disposed of at a Gloucester warehouse where the McSwan family had also previously been killed. Given that it was somewhat isolated and had a manhole where the human muck could be conveniently disposed of, the warehouse appeared to be an ideal location. But it was not good enough for him.
Of course not.
So he rented a bigger warehouse on Leopold Road with extra room for his acid mixtures and drums after the 5 murders.
Oh my gosh.
He's like, this is my jam. I need to go bigger with this.
Oh my gosh.
He would slaughter and disintegrate his very last victim there. Haigh shared an apartment at the Onslow Court Hotel with Olive Durand Deacon, a wealthy widow.
I love that name, Olive.
Me too.
It's
I
cute.
love it so much.
I do too.
Olive, who considered herself somewhat of an inventor, asked Haigh if she could discuss her idea for artificial fingernails with him after learning that he worked for an engineering company. Which I don't understand how those two kind of compute together,
Maybe because I don't know.
right? Like, it just doesn't seem like a.
I mean, if he was a chemical engineer, I could kind of see that, because like you'd have to
Yeah,
have the chemical components to make the fake nails, but I don't
that's
know.
true. I mean, kind of like cool for her though. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's awesome. But unfortunately, Haigh used this as an opportunity to lure Olive to his warehouse. And that is where he killed her.
Mm.
The body found by the investigators outside the Leopold Road warehouse was that of Olive Durand Deacon.
Mm.
And for some reason, he moved to this warehouse because it was bigger, but it didn't have a manhole
Oh.
or a drain or anything. So he had to dispose of the bodies in a pile of debris behind the warehouse
Oh.
because he couldn't pour it into the sewers.
Ew.
So that is how investigators were able to find Olive's bodily remains so easily.
Oh.
So,
He
like,
had probably
one,
just gotten away with it so many times that he thought he was invincible.
yeah. After Olive Durand Deacon's body was found, Haigh was taken into custody and accused of killing her. Having been dubbed the acid bath murderer by the media, he claimed he was insane and that he had become insane by drinking his victim's blood, even though there was no proof he had actually drank human blood. But he basically just said that he got off on it and he was a vampire and he needed to drink their blood.
I think he was just trying to be insane so he could go to a mental institution instead of getting the death penalty.
That's also what he was trying to do.
Yeah.
Good job.
Because back then, the death penalty, they doled that out like.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's exactly what he was trying to do.
Yeah.
So in this one article that I read, he had actually gone to the police station with Olive's friend or sister or something like that, like somebody really close to Olive. Even went to the police station with her so that they could report that she was missing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And a sergeant recognized him and was like, well, they didn't recognize him, but she looked at him. She's like, he seems really weird, really off. Like something's going on with this dude. And then they had found out that he had sold some of her jewelry, gotten her like furs dry cleaned, shit like that.
Yeah.
So he really fucked up.
Yeah.
Thankfully.
Yeah.
But yeah, like how stupid are you? Yeah. But he was just living off of that rich life.
Yeah. Well, and that's what he grew up in. And he was like, this is how I deserve to live.
Because, yeah, his family cut him off.
Yeah.
Right? So, just how, like you said, though, like, you have a brain.
Yeah.
Use it for good.
Yeah. That's like, so annoying.
Dude, you literally figured out how to properly melt a human body in acid. You could do so much good.
Based on calculations from a mouse body.
You could do so much good.
Yeah.
And that could have earned you the money and the lifestyle that you wanted.
But he wanted it fast and he wanted it easy.
Yeah. What a fucking twerp.
Yeah.
So, like Ashley said, he was just trying to get the insanity plea. But the jury found him guilty and sentenced him to death in a matter of minutes.
Oh, wow.
And he was put to death for his crimes on August 10th of 1949.
Oh, wow.
And that is the story of John George Haigh.
That was awful. Thank you.
I like to make my horrible stories really quick. So we don't have to suffer through them for too long.
Oh, there's a Criminal Minds episode based on him.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. We just got into Criminal Minds again. Like, well, I did. And I shared it with Kyle. And he really likes it now, too.
I love Criminal Minds.
Reed. So good.
Reed is my man. I love him so much.
It's so funny because when I was younger, when I first started watching Criminal Minds with my mom, her and I were like in love with Morgan.
Yeah. He's like traditionally sexy, right?
But the thing is that now that's not like I don't think he's attractive at all.
I mean, I definitely do. Like I can see him and be like, oh yeah, that's a fine ass man. But Reed, I would like climb that beanpole.
Well, if you watch the episodes, it's funny. It's like they drew on Morgan's eyebrows. Oh. Like they're so dark, so thick.
Oh, I haven't noticed that. I have to look.
Thin. They're like very thin and dark, and they just look so bad with his bald ass head. And then like it's like they drew on his goatee in some parts, and it's just really weird. I'm not into it. Like, yes, I could lick your abs any fucking day, but he's just too pretty.
Yeah,
like just over the top pretty, you know?
Yeah.
And Reed, fucking gangly little beanpole first few seasons, but now.
And when he has his little gun that he uses,
it's so funny how he just runs with his gun. It's so bad.
He's so cute.
Just like, baby. But when he has like a beard and his scraggly hair, oh my god,
I love him so I follow Matthew Gray Goobler on Instagram, and
Me too.
he's a
I love
weirdo in real
him.
life, and I love it.
An absolute weirdo, and I
Yeah.
freaking love it.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, I love him.
All right. Do you have any jokes for me? Because I don't have any.
I am the joke. No, I don't have any jokes this week. I'm battling a cold again, and
Barely hanging on.
yeah, barely hanging on. Trying to get better for the weekend.
You poor thing. All right. Well, if you want more of us lovely ladies, you can find us on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and Patreon
And TikTok.
and TikTok. We haven't updated
If
that in a minute, but
Ashley ever posts on it, but
yeah, I need to do that.
and you can also rate and review us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts if you're going to be nice about it.
Yeah, only nice things.
Unless they're constructive criticism, and then we can take that.
Yeah, we like that too.
Don't just be outright mean.
We don't like mean.
I'm too sensitive.
Well, thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to bringing you 2 new stories next week.
Bye.
Bye.